So when I say the difference between good and great is tremendous, it really is. The difference between it and any other bean in the world is really a vast difference. And if you go to these Robusta beans, I mean, they're really poor beans. They're right on the bottom of the scale, but multi-level marketing companies are selling them because they're cheap and easy to buy, but the flavor is bitter, and they feather dust it with a little bit of Ganoderma and maybe a few other things, and say you've got a health coffee. Well, I guess that's their interpretation of it. Mine is not. The bouquet bean from Panama has been rated now for 12 consecutive years by the World Coffee Association, and they have a organization of professional tasters that taste coffee, and for the past 12 consecutive years, it's been rated as the #1 coffee in the entire world for flavor. It's also the #1 for health, and so with that, you have that tremendous coffee, and then we fortified it with all these healthy ingredients in therapeutic doses, and so that you have a health coffee and a delicious tasting coffee like you've never had before. Now, interestingly enough, to give you a little comparison, Starbucks was just ranked as the #1 best tasting coffee of the top 20 coffee companies in the world, top 20 selling coffee in the world. So of the 20 best sellers, it was ranked #1 for flavor. And it should be, because they have they use some Colombian coffee. I think it's about 92% Colombian, and then about 8%, or maybe 10, but I think it's 8% of the Panama bouquet coffee. They call it Aromar, and that's their own private name for it. We could call it Aromardar or some other thing like that if we wanted to. Wouldn't want to be deceptively similar, but we just call it what it is. It's the Panamanian bouquet geisha coffee, the world's best tasting coffee. We use the same bean that they do. The difference is where I think they're using 8%, we use 100%. Then they micro-grind it, and they talk a lot about micro-grinding because it's a lot different than freeze-drying to make an instant coffee. This freeze-drying destroys most of the properties that are in coffee, and sure, it dissolves fast, but you've lost most of the value. It's driven off when you freeze-dry it. And with microgrind, you keep all of those values there, but it's expensive to microgrind, and so they use some microgrind with their Colombian, and that combination is ranked as #1 in the top 20 selling brands in the world. But ours will rank, there's a coffee taster's cup is what they call it, a coffee wheel. Ours will rank much higher than that because we just use the pure bean itself. The Chilean beans, the Colombian beans, the beans from those regions, Costa Rica, are normally in the 70 range,